Okay, we've got some really critical source material this week. It points to a major private promise made by President Trump.
That's right. And it feels like it's now, well, a ticking time bomb, doesn't it?
It really does. So for you, the listener, we're doing a deep dive into these high-stakes diplomatic moves around the West Bank.
Exactly. You've given us sources detailing this crucial closed-door meeting at the UN, and they really lay bare the geopolitical pressure points, particularly around potential Israeli annexation.
Right. So our mission here is to cut straight to the core finding. What exactly did President Trump tell Arab and Muslim leaders in that private meeting?
And maybe more importantly, why is this private assurance so incredibly significant right now? Especially, since it seems to run counter to intense domestic pressure in Israel.
That's the crux of it. We're unpacking this tension, this gap between a secret promise and the facts on the ground. It's more than just diplomacy, isn't it? It's like a regional strategic bind.
Uh-huh. And the U.S. president's word seems to be the only thing, perhaps, holding certain things together at this moment.
It almost sounds like a diplomatic hostage situation.
You could say that, where Trump's own major regional achievement, the Abraham Accords, is basically the collateral.
Okay, let's start with the event itself. Paint the picture. We're talking UN headquarters, Tuesday.
Right. A closed-door session. Leaders from 8 Arab and Muslim nations were there, and Trump himself, apparently beforehand, called it his most important meeting of the day.
His most important. That sets a certain tone, doesn't it?
It certainly does, and the substance backs it up. The key information, and we had this confirmed by 6 people familiar with what went on.
6 sources.
Okay, is the pledge. President Trump privately assured these leaders he would not permit Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to formally annex the West Bank.
Not just might not, but he actively gave assurances he would prevent it.
Yes. 2 of the sources described it as, quote, an absolute guarantee. He was apparently quite firm that Israel wouldn't be allowed to just absorb that territory.
Wow. An absolute guarantee. If that holds, that's a massive diplomatic commitment made entirely in secret.
But, let's apply a bit of critical thinking here. If it was truly absolute, an absolute guarantee, why are we hearing about it from 6 anonymous sources?
Good point. The secrecy itself is interesting. Trump left, no readout, none of the participants put out an official summary.
Exactly. It makes you question its real weight, especially maybe with the Israeli government itself. Was this guarantee really intended for everyone?
It feels like it was maybe designed just for that room. The only public hint we got was later Turkish President Erdogan, who was there.
Right.
He just called the talks fruitful on Fox News. No specifics at all.
A huge contrast, isn't it? Public silence versus this incredibly serious private commitment, a commitment that, if it's broken, could genuinely destabilize the region.
And they tried to give it some teeth, apparently. There was a document.
Yes. To add substance, Trump's team actually circulated a white paper during the meeting. It wasn't just talk. It laid out the administration's post-war plan, details on governance, security.
Okay.
And crucially, that guarantee against annexation was explicitly included in that written strategy paper.
So they were trying to show these leaders, look, this assurance is part of a concrete plan, even if, the plan itself is confidential.
A written absolute guarantee, at least according to these sources.
Okay. So Arab leaders walk away with this promise, maybe even on paper. But that paper piece it exists against a really brutal backdrop of conflict. Right?
Absolutely. This is where the diplomatic niceties hit the hard reality. While the guarantee was being discussed, negotiations for a ceasefire in Israel's war against Hamas, nearly 2 years now, they're completely stalled.
Still stalled. And
Yep.
the human cost.
It's staggering. Local health authorities are reporting over 64,000 Palestinians killed since the conflict started.
64,000. That number alone creates this immense pressure, doesn't it? It makes every diplomatic move like this secret pledge feel either incredibly urgent or potentially just not enough.
And the sources confirm annexation isn't just some abstract political idea for these leaders. It's a major flashpoint they simply cannot ignore.
They can't. And it sounds like they're using whatever leverage they have.
They are. They voiced, apparently, real frustration with Trump. On one hand, his refusal to support recognizing a Palestinian state, while on the other hand, the U.S. continues backing Netanyahu's campaign against Hamas.
But the core threat they made was about something else, wasn't it?
Yes, and it was here's where it gets really critical.
Okay.
Arab officials warned Trump directly. If Israel makes a formal move to annex the West Bank, it would almost certainly mean the collapse of the Abraham Accords.
Wow. There it is. The Abraham Accords.
This is the key takeaway for you listening. The Accords were Trump's biggest Middle East policy win, normalizing relations between Israel and several Arab nations.
A collapse would be a huge historical reversal.
It's huge. So these Arab states are essentially telling the U.S. president, your entire diplomatic legacy in this region, it hinges on you enforcing this one private promise about annexation.
That is some serious political leverage. And the backdrop just keeps getting worse, right? The conflict keeps flaring up.
Exactly. Things got even hotter earlier this month when Israeli forces targeted Hamas officials right in the middle of peace talks in Qatar.
During peace talks, that just highlights the deep distrust, the fragility of the whole situation.
Fragility is definitely the word.
Okay, so that's the external pressure, the threat to the Accords. But let's pivot now, look inside Israel. Because Netanyahu is facing these intense domestic pressures, pushing him in the exact opposite direction.
Right. And this is the zero-sum game he seems to be trapped in. He's got elections next year.
Okay.
And the pressure on him domestically to go ahead with annexation has ramped up significantly, especially after some key U.S. allies actually recognized a Palestinian state. That really pushed the issue forward for his base.
So you've got ideology mixing with sheer political survival. The far-right elements in Netanyahu's coalition. They see this moment amidst the war, amidst the shifting international views as their golden opportunity. Finally achieve that long-term goal. Absorb the West Bank.
And for Netanyahu, you have to assume it's a cold political calculation. Pursuing annexation looks like the move he needs to make to rally his base to keep his coalition together before the election.
So think about that risk calculation for him. It's brutal.
It really is. He's not just dealing with, political opponents. It's potentially an existential threat to his current government.
Right. If he actually listens to Trump's private promise, his government could collapse tomorrow. He could lose power.
But if he ignores the promise, pushes forward with formal annexation, he risks blowing up the entire regional security structure via the Abraham Accords. What a choice.
And critics are already saying this whole distinction, formal annexation versus not, is kind of academic anyway.
How so?
Well, because Israel has already expanded Jewish settlements so much, tightened its control over the West Bank, many argue that effectively is annexation already, de facto annexation.
At this fair point, the de facto reality is there. But the international community, especially Arab and European leaders, they seem focused on the formal declaration.
Because that's the point of no return.
Precisely. They've been very clear. Formal annexation would kill off any remaining hope for a two-state solution. And critically, it would completely derail Israel's wider integration into the region. It undermines the whole point of the Accords.
So they're drawing a line. They're saying, look, the de facto control is bad enough, but making it de jure, making it official law, that's catastrophic.
That seems to be the consensus warning, yes.
So where does that leave us? It's this extraordinary standoff, really. You have President Trump, who seems to have staked his legacy, the Abraham Accords, on this private, absolute guarantee.
A guarantee given in secret.
Right. But that secret guarantee is now up against the immense force of an Israeli prime minister facing, overwhelming domestic political necessity. His survival seems to depend on satisfying a hard-right coalition that wants annexation now.
And the clock is ticking. The pressure is building fast. We know there are key meetings scheduled. Trump and Erdogan are set to meet again this week.
Okay.
And then the big one, perhaps. Trump and Netanyahu are scheduled to meet at the White House on Monday.
So all the diplomatic levers are going to be pulled, huge pressure on Trump to use his personal relationship with Netanyahu to enforce a promise he made behind closed doors.
Absolutely. It's going to be fascinating to watch.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with a final kind of provocative question to think about.
Okay.
We know there's this absolute public warning out there. Annexation collapses the Abraham Accords. Every leader involved knows this. So how much real diplomatic weight can a private, unconfirmed assurance from Trump actually carry when it crashes head-on into Netanyahu's perceived need for political survival?
Is Netanyahu essentially being forced to choose between a confirmed, signed regional peace deal, the Accords, and the maybe temporary but absolutely necessary support of his far-right base to stay in power?
What's the strategic risk he's balancing right now? Something to really consider.